Hello everybody, so I make that 3 o'clock, so we're going to start our webinar. I just want to welcome you all to our webinar, Oscilloscopes in Education, How PicoScope Meets the Challenges in Remote Teaching and Distance Learning. I'm Gemma Hull, the Marketing Manager here at Pico Technology, and I just want to go through some housekeeping. So your microphone is currently muted and your video is turned off. The webinar will run for approximately 45 minutes with 15 minutes of questions and answers at the end. Should you have any questions, obviously we'd love to hear any questions you do have. Can you please put them in the chat panel and I'll put them to our presenter at the end of the webinar. And just to let you know, the webinar is being recorded and a recording will be available approximately 24 hours after this event. So I will now hand over to our presenter today, Mike Purday, our Distribution Sales Manager. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you very much indeed, Gemma, and I'd like to echo Gemma's welcome to this webinar on PicoScopes in remote teaching and distance learning. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so looking at why PicoScope is ideal for remote teaching and distance learning, and I'd like to take you through first of all our agenda. So I'm going to be presenting the webinar, and we've got a couple of videos that have been prepared by colleagues of mine here in the test and measurement team, one by Carl Bradbury, who's also part of the distribution sales management team, and one by Stuart Merlis, who's our applications engineer. Ooh, so first of all then, a look at a little bit of the background to Pico. So Pico Technology is a UK-based company. We're headquartered just outside Cambridge here in the UK. We were founded in 1991, so we're nearly 30 years old. We're going to be 30 years old in July, and we've been very proud of the fact for the last 29 years we've shown continuous year-on-year growth, and we're on target to match that trend again for the 30th year. So extremely proud of that fact, and we're a privately owned company, and the continuous growth has been fantastic. So our board and our owners are very proud of that. As you may well know, we are a manufacturer of PC-based test and measurement equipment, and we pride ourselves on supplying T&M equipment at fair prices, and this equipment is ideal, as you'll see over the course of this webinar, for teaching and for laboratory work. We have regional operations in the United States and also in China, in the Asia Pacific region, and we're able to support our customers globally with a network of distributors that are able to support and supply our equipment in country. And you can see a list of our distributors, global distributors, on our website. In terms of size, we're about 130 employees and growing. We're adding to the staff count all the time. So that's a little bit of an overview about us. You can find out more details on our website, picotech.com. So taking a look then at the agenda for this webinar, we're first of all going to look at the background, so how teaching has had to adapt in the current environment, the current pandemic environment, and what alterations universities and colleges have had to make in order to be able to deliver our content remotely. We're going to then spend a little bit of time looking at why PicoScope is an ideal partner for education, not only the hardware, but also the PicoScope software. And at that point, I'm going to run a demonstration of our 2204A, our entry-level PicoScope, together with PicoScope 6 software, and that's a demo that's been pre-recorded by my colleague Carl Bradbury. We're then going to move on and look a little bit at how universities and colleges have used PicoScope to meet requirements for distance learning and remote teaching. And at that point, I'm very pleased to be able to share with you a pre-recorded interview with the University of Birmingham on their use of PicoScope. There's a use case scenario there. They've used and adopted PicoScopes for remote teaching. So I'll share that pre-recorded video with you. And then towards the end of the webinar, we'll look at other Pico products. So we have a portfolio of products that include RF products. And again, some of those are ideally suited for educational use. So we'll talk briefly about those. And we'll finish the webinar with a brief demonstration of our VNA, our Vector Network Analyzer, together with Pico's Network Metrology Training Kit, which is an ideal pairing for teaching our introduction to the use of VNA technologies. So first of all, then, a little bit of background. How has university teaching had to adapt to the current pandemic situation? So we all have been living in a slightly different, rather strange times for nearly a year. So we've all had to adapt the way we work and the way we deliver content, and universities are no different. So at the start of the pandemic, back in March of 2020, it was unclear how long remote learning and remote teaching would need to carry on for. I think we thought that perhaps the pandemic situation was going to be over quite quickly, and here we are nearly a year later, still in measures to deal with it. So some organisations moved quite quickly and early to declare that online teaching was going to be their modus operandi for the next academic year. So I'm quoting here the BBC News website from the 19th of May 2020, where it says that the universities of Cambridge and of Manchester moved very quickly and very early on to adopt to online teaching. Indeed, the University of Cambridge said that in the academic year commencing in September of 2020, that there wouldn't be any online, any in-person teaching. All teaching would be online. So many other institutions have also followed that lead, the early lead that Manchester and Cambridge took. But everybody's faced challenges in having to adapt to deliver content remotely. So quoting the UWE, University of West England in Bristol, lockdown uncovered numerous challenges and barriers with online learning, but also proved how effective it can be. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about, one of the themes to this webinar is the effectiveness of the use of Pico's products in overcoming those challenges and barriers and delivering effective online learning strategies. So what are the challenges of teaching engineering remotely? What are the issues? So looking briefly at some of them, then obviously teaching engineering is a practical subject. So teaching would normally take place, as well as academic lectures. Teaching would all normally take place also with the practical sessions in a lab with test equipment in that laboratory. And clearly, with students studying remotely from home or from wherever, that is not possible. So that's one challenge that has had to be overcome. Year groups can often be large, so depending on the size of the institution and the size of the intake, then you can be looking at cohorts that are perhaps more than 200 students. So you've got to have the ability to get equipment to large numbers of people. So remote teaching and distance learning has to be straightforward, both in terms of the course material, the syllabus, and in terms of the equipment that's used, because supporting that equipment remotely is more difficult potentially, and delivering the content that the syllabus remotely is equally a challenge. So focusing specifically then on the equipment that's involved, the equipment needs to be portable, it needs to be easy to use, and obviously because of the cohort size, the sheer number of people, the sheer amount of equipment that you might need, it needs to offer excellent value for money. So universities all over the world have turned to us here at Pico to overcome those challenges and to be able to use Pico products to deliver our teaching remotely. So a little bit of a look at why PicoScope is the ideal partner for education. And there's quite a wide range of reasons, and we'll explore these in a little bit of detail. So firstly and foremostly, the form factor of our PC connected oscilloscopes is a major plus. So the ultra compact design, you can see our 2204 there, both flat on a picture on the right hand side, but also being tucked into a shirt pocket on the left hand side. So very small, ultra portable, ultra compact design allows use anywhere. So very important, because obviously bench space is a premium if people are working from home, and you need to be able to send the equipment out to the students to be able to use. So the ultra compact design and form factor are very important. Value for money. Now, we've touched a little bit on the size of the cohorts. Value for money, very important. So the entry level 2204A that you see there in the pictures is $139 US, or 119 euros, or 99 pounds sterling. So that sort of price level makes large orders for teaching entire groups, entire cohorts very possible, because you're looking at something that in many respects, many cases, is not much more than the cost of a textbook. So it's very possible to purchase a PicoScope for each student. I mentioned before the PC connected aspect of this. So obviously, everybody, all students have got access to a personal computer. And one of the great beauties of our PC connected oscilloscopes is about 70% of the functionality you would see from a traditional oscilloscope is contained in that PC. So then you're saving on both cost and also on bench space. So using the PC connected part of the oscilloscope in a PicoScope means that the students have already got the access to that PC, and they've already got the familiarity with the use of the PC. So all of the above is a combination really which offers advantages that traditional benchtop oscilloscopes can't match. You wouldn't be able to ship them out to students. They're not intuitive to use in the same way as PicoScopes. So all things that have stood us in very good stead for this remote teaching and distance learning. So just touch then very briefly on the software. So PicoScope 6 software and remote teaching. The software itself is free of charge, so it can be downloaded as many times as you wish, onto as many multiple machines as you wish. And importantly, once you purchase the hardware, the software is upgraded. If the software is upgraded, the software is upgradable, and those upgrades are retrospective. So retrospective upgrades for existing hardware users. It's a proven and reliable software platform which works with all PicoScopes. So worth pointing out that the software package is the same for the PicoScope 2204A, the entry-level scope, throughout the entire real-time oscilloscope range. So topping out with our 6000 range, 500 megahertz high bandwidth, high specification scopes. So once the students become accustomed to using PicoScope 6, it's the same software platform that they're going to be using if they move to use PicoScopes in later roles, perhaps post graduate education, or indeed moving out into industry. So that's another important point. If you have students that are studying remotely and perhaps their first language is not English, they might prefer to use the software with their own local language, and we have multiple language support built into the software. And as I mentioned, the software can be downloaded onto any PC anywhere you wish, and there's the possibility of allowing students to simulate hardware if needed, so they can get up and running very, very quickly, and they can do so if they wish, before they receive the hardware. And a final thing with the software to bear in mind is that the online file transfer allows easy transfer of files from the students' PCs to back to academic departments. And this means that marking coursework, if there's any assessed coursework or any questions about what the students have done, it's very easy to deal with that. So another major plus point. So we've got the hardware, we've got the software. Now, the final thing, obviously the final part of any practical work, is the ability to actually build devices and circuits to test. So relatively recently, Pico has started working with analog devices using their parts and component kit, the ADALP 2000 parts kit, which contains a large selection of components which are ideal for creating circuits and devices. So we would recommend this kit. It's inexpensive. It's around £50 sterling, and it's a versatile way for students to build and test circuits. So what you see in the pictures below is you see the parts kit on the left hand side with all the different components in, and then on the right hand side you see a PicoScope. And there's a PicoScope 2000 there being used to probe a device that one of my colleagues, Stuart Merlis, has built. And he's built an audio amplifier, and he's using the PicoScope there to probe the circuit under test. So that's the third part of the system. So you have the hardware, you have the software, and now we're recommending these analog devices kits as a way of building circuits for students to actually test. So at this point, I'm going to move to a video that one of my colleagues, Mr. Carl Bradbury, has put together. So Carl's done a brief demonstration video looking at the hardware and the software with the 2204A, looking at testing a bandpass filter. So I'm going to play you a short video demonstrating that now.